Salutations, my fellow builders, my fellow nerds. We have an exciting week coming up this week because we are going to be building one of the sexiest, most important tools for my startup's existence right now. Now, I know, bold claim, but let me explain why. For a little bit of context for those of you that are new here, this is your first time coming by. My name is Thomas, I go by Irish Tech Bro on the internet. I make a lot of videos documenting my app building process, journey, and right now I'm building an app called Yorby, which has this long-term vision of being the ultimate social media marketing tool for startups. Currently, the big feature we've launched with is a viral content database that we handpick, that myself and my co-founder, we handpick and curate all of the most viral content, viral marketing content specifically on social media that we find, so that you can quickly get some marketing inspo to figure out how you want to approach your UGC, your organic social media content marketing strategy for whatever you are building. And then last week, we just worked hard on this brand new feature where you can remix any type of existing content out there to fit your niche for whatever business or product that you are building in. For example, let's say on our viral content database, you see a piece of content that is marketing an ed tech tool, and then you are building a dating app. We then created an AI agent that will take that original video, and when you tell us what your product is about, what niche or angle you want to convert this and remix this video into, we provide an entire script for you remixed to fit your niche of whatever you want it to be. Now, that was the first step into our AI content generation realm, but now it's gonna be the big meaty portion. We're actually gonna dive into actual video and actual content generation with AI and trying to build out a content studio within Yorby. Once again, for those of you that are new here, I post a video every single week, at least I try my best to do every single week, documenting my whole startup building process. Historically, I've been able to finish entire feature builds within a week. This one's gonna be pretty big and meaty. I don't know if we're gonna be able to finish it in 1 week. But coming back to the actual feature that we're trying to build, if you think about where the product is kind of existing, right? The first step is this viral content database. Step 2, you can remix this viral content database to create a new script that you can create, or you can hand off to an actual human to create your content. Step 3, I feel like the next logical step would be to, what if we could actually literally create an entire video for you end to end from that remixed script that we just created. Now, that's the long-term vision. I don't know if the technology is quite there yet, but the first step forward in this direction is to help builders, like if you're watching this, chances are you're building an app, you want to market it on social media, you need to start making content to market and advertise your product. So the first step we want to do is create a content studio to help you make some type of marketing content with AI and UGC as well, with some type of AI creators out there. I know a lot of people out there are probably like, oh, AI UGC creators, it's not good enough. There's no way I'd fall for that. I think you'd be surprised. There are actually so many businesses out there that run a lot of AI accounts to market their product, and it is pretty convincing. I really do think AI video generation has gotten good enough that it can make some pretty convincing and pretty impressive format. And I'll include a couple of video examples of some AI content right here in this segment.
Yeah, I just can't approve your PTO request for this December. Like, you already taken off the max amount PTO days for the year. Yeah, I just can't approve your PTO request for this December. Like, you already taken off the max amount PTO days for the year.
So as you can see, their AI content is pretty impressive. Now, I'm not gonna say that AI content is gonna guarantee you any type of virality. I actually view this whole AI content generation space similarly to how I view the AI code generation space. Do I really think AI coding is gonna completely 100% replace software engineers? Maybe in the very, very, very far future, but even then I'm very bearish on it. At the end of the day, I just view all of these AI coding tools as a way to speed up my coding workflow, my coding process. It allows me to build faster than ever before, but more importantly, it lowers the barrier of entry for other people to start building apps and start coding things themselves as well. And similarly with AI content generation, at the end of the day, I think it's just gonna be another tool that marketers can use to market their product on social media. Like, for example, there are certain content formats that myself as like a late 20-year-old Asian male cannot make, because if I were to make those pieces of content or like content format, it's not necessarily gonna go viral. Even though I'm sexy as fuck, there are certain limitations to what content formats that I personally can make just due to who I am and my persona. And I think by creating this AI content creators, AI UGC content, this actually opens up so many doors to let people who aren't comfortable showing their face on the internet start marketing their content in a really relatable way. And I think that's gonna be really powerful, because you can assume essentially different personas to create your content and market it out there in the world. Is it kind of dystopian? Yes. But marketing is marketing. Don't hate the player, hate the game is kind of how I think about it. And in terms of what kind of content studio we want to create first, it's going to be the simplest approach. As you can see in the previous clip where I showed you some of the other AI generated generated Instagram and TikTok posts out there. The primary way AI video generation is used for marketing purposes is just by having some type of like girl next door, guy next door person, having some type of intro clip with text overlaying on the screen, minimal talking, and mostly just like a video of themselves expressing some type of reaction and some really type of enticing hook. And immediately after that clip comes in the product plug where they can showcase a demo of the product that someone is building to solve the problem that very first clip introduced. That is going to be our first step into this AI content generation realm. On the surface, it seems pretty simple. Just get some type of AI generated persona, overlay some text on top of it, add in a product plug video, export the video all in one. It sounds simple, but I know underneath the hood, it's going to be kind of a bitch to implement because I worked with video stuff. Video is so annoying and so difficult to work with. I'm not really looking forward to it. I know it's going to hurt, but you got to push through the suck right now. Okay. That is the initial type of AI content that we want to launch with. So right now I'm a little bit up to date on the latest AI video generation models and all that stuff, but now I'm going to dive even deeper into it over the next couple of hours, do a really big deep dive into this whole space, and we'll come back in a couple of hours and let's see what I learned throughout this deep dive research process. It's actually been 2 days since I filmed that first intro clip, and I wasn't originally supposed to take this long of researching, but I got a lot of things come up that kind of derailed my whole plans because number one, Gemini 3 came out on Tuesday. What? Crazy model. I've actually found that it is a significant step function increase in terms of UI and UX creation. Like the UI skills and the design skills are really, really impressive. But anyways, because Gemini 3 came out on Tuesday, I was so distracted all day. I was just playing around with it all day. Did not do as much in-depth research, locked in research as I originally had planned. And on top of that, we actually had some emergency code changes and code fixes to go in. Basically, my co-founder and I realized that we need to add an emergency feature and do like a much bigger, in anticipation of like a much bigger like launch campaign on like LinkedIn and stuff like that. Essentially, my co-founder and I, we realized that we are missing a really key feature in our tooling to make it more useful for people to use. And essentially this generative AI content studio idea got put on the back burner to launch this emergency feature out because we think it's like super high priority. Let me show you what exactly I built exactly. Okay, so this is the emergency feature that my co-founder and I realized we got to build this immediately. It makes a product so much more useful and it is the most important thing to build in the moment. So if you've been following with this series, you already know that for the past couple of weeks, we've been building this viral content database tool. Basically, we hand curate this entire portfolio of videos that are like viral marketing content out there. And one useful thing that you can do here is this remix feature. When you click on this button, you can then go in, we can remix this piece of content. And essentially what we do is we use generative AI to analyze the video script. And then we go through this like agentic experience. Basically, you give us a prompt on how exactly you want to transform this video. Maybe this video is in like a dating app niche and you want to rework this for your productivity tool that you're building instead. You tell how you want to change it and then we remix the whole content for you. So while this tool is super useful, we realized a big shortcoming of this tool was the fact that you can only remix content that exists in our viral content database. You know, maybe you come across a TikTok or Instagram post on the internet that you really like and you want to remix it yourself, but it's not in our viral content database. We need to add support to let you almost have like a solo player experience with our content remixing tool. So that is what we built right here in this content remixing tab. So from here, when you click on remix new content, you can either remix existing piece of content from our viral content database, or if you want to bring in your own piece of content that you stumbled across that you're like, wow, this is some good marketing info. I want to make a similar video and remix it for my business and my product instead. You can click on this add from URL tab. And essentially from here, you can paste in any TikTok or any Instagram URL and we scrape it for you, just like we have right here. And we create like a little personal content library for you so that you can then go in and remix it yourself. We think that this is going to be a pretty key unlock. It provides a solo player experience such that you can actually incorporate this into your workflow rather than having this solely be restricted on a piece of content being available in the viral content database. That's what I was heads down for the past 48 hours building. Actually, kind of complicated. A lot of scraping, a lot of crazy serverless workflows, Upstash workflows going on, but we got it done. And we have this personal content library that you can scrape and remix any piece of content you want now. You can try it out. Also, major update that we made is the fact that we just switched our model into a free trial model. Previously, we were kind of going with this whole freemium plan where anyone can sign up. You can get access to like 5 free pieces of content in this database, but then we realized that's not that useful. Like, that's not that helpful. So we were just like, hey, forget this whole freemium plan. Instead, let's just slap a free trial on there, give people a 3-day free trial to use the tool as much as they possibly want and see if they like it. It required reworking a lot of how we handle billing and how we handle just subscription management under the hood. I know it sounds really easy on the surface, but underneath the hood is actually pretty complicated. I had to rip out and almost redo our entire billing model. So now everything is just free trial, one subscription. You pay $20 a month per user. You get a 3-month free trial. It makes sense to our brain. Hopefully this leads to some better activation, better usage of our app, maybe some paying users to upgrade to it. We'll see. So that's what I was really heads down on the past 48 hours while also playing around with Gemini 30 Pro. But we are now back. That is fully launched. We're all good to go there. Now it is time to actually start building this generative AI content studio. So after doing a little bit of research on what the current lay of the land is, I did a crazy deep dive on some of the other video gen models and like workflows and tooling out there. And I realized, you know what? There's no need to complicate this. Let's just keep it simple. And the way that we're keeping it simple is the fact that we're just going to use the Sora API. We know the Sora API. We know how well it works. We know that we have made AI content with it before in the past to create these like AI avatars, AI UGC creators. So we know that it works. No need to fix something that isn't broken, and the Sora API is not broken. So we know that the Sora API is what we're going to use. So now we're going to start creating this first iteration of the content studio, just like that first page, the entry point for users to get into the content studio and maybe provide some type of templating, some type of high-level format so that they can follow. So I don't really know what that's going to entail, but I'm going to start building. And I think what I realize is sometimes you go in and build with the plan, but other times you kind of go in and just start building and the plan comes to you. And tonight is one of those nights where I feel like just building without a plan and just letting the plan come to me instead. So let's get into that real quick. So I'm going to go back to building. I'm going to share with you what exactly we got cooking up. You know, it's actually crazy now that we just hired our first additional developer, and it's no longer just myself and my co-founder. And we've actually had to start introducing more processes like writing out engineering requirement docs, product requirement docs, and actually having to use a work messaging platform for all three of us to communicate instead of just relying on iMessage. I guess maturing and growing up in this entrepreneurship game is realizing that all the processes that exist at larger tech companies are there for a reason. They're necessary for a company to actually function correctly. When we were looking into which work messaging platform we wanted to use, we actually came across a really cool platform called Glue, which is an AI native work chat platform who also happens to be the sponsor of today's video. The most annoying part about working in large organizations is the fact that probably only 20% of your time is actually spent doing the work, and the other 80% of your time is spent combing through hundreds of old messages, gathering all the old context, and figuring out what exactly you need to get done and work on. A bug is reported in one channel, all the context of that bug is stored in another one, the PR is in GitHub, the actual ticket is in Jira or Notion, and the cognitive load and constant switching is just so insane. And by the time I piece everything together, I've completely forgotten what work that I was trying to do in the beginning, which for someone with a smooth brain like myself happens quite often. But what if your chat wasn't just about the work, but it's actually where you get work done? And that's where Glue comes in a very interesting way. Now, what makes Glue really interesting is the fact that you can add a bunch of apps or MCPs as well that lets your Glue AI teammate interact directly with all these other third-party services you use as part of your workflow. So you can go over here, you can see I created a little thread, and I can quickly ask Glue what is the latest deployment in my Yorby project on Vercel in the YK Labs team. So I can ask this because I added a Vercel integration, and I can immediately go check in on the status of all of my projects and see how they're doing. All from my workspace, don't have to switch any tabs or any context switching at all. So immediately right there, I can see what's the latest commit that is deployed on production into Yorby, which is the app that I'm building. And I did it all directly within Glue, and I didn't have to leave any tabs. And like any modern founder out there who does founder-led marketing on the internet, I can also ask Glue to create a new task in my tweet library in Notion to make a tweet about how goated I am. So then I send that message off so I can create a ticket directly within Notion straight from Glue without ever having to leave my tab once again. You can actually get work done within Glue rather than just chatting about work inside of it. So now I just confirm that this is the task that I want to create. Click confirm, and the task was just made within Notion. It's the first ever multiplayer MCP client, which is essentially just a fancy way of saying it connects all of your apps and your entire workflow all within one directly inside Glue, and you don't need anything else. It's like your team messaging app finally grew up and got a job and actually gets work done on its own. You can try it completely for free for 30 days, stop living in channel hell, and start your free trial at glue.ai. All right, so I've been coding for a little bit in the past couple of hours, and I got like a general layout template done. And let me show you real quickly. So this is what I want the general content studio to be for this first like hook and demo type of AI content that you can create with social media. This is the format I would offer this first like hook and demo type of content that we want to make to help people market their product on social media. Once again, and none of this works at all. This is all just layout, scaffolding. This is just pure UI and nothing else. I honestly like to do this just to get a general sense of like the design, and at least for me, I think I need to get the front end implemented first before I can get all the back end. That's just how my brain works a bit. So ideally the flow would be you enter in some type of hook here, and then we'll overlay that text as like the hook on that video, and that video will then have like some type of like AI avatar, like really hyper realistic AI UGC creator that pops up right here with the text overlays. And at the very bottom, you can just plug in a product demo for whatever business or app that you're building. And then at the end, you click generate video, we stitch it all together, and you can export it out. And that's how you can create your first hook and demo video within your video. That's the general layout that we're going for. And what's really great, I think earlier I mentioned how I've been playing around with Gemini 3, and this entire layout was actually built with Gemini 3 Pro. Gemini 3 really does feel like a step function increase in terms of its UI UX design capabilities compared to all the other models out there. I feel like all the other models you can kind of tell like, oh, this is generated by AI, but if you look at this and you're like, that's actually pretty fucking good, you know? So this is all done with Gemini 3. I like the layout so far. Now I'm gonna go in, it's getting kind of late, it's like 8 p.m. right now, but I'm probably gonna code for a little bit longer, work on this, just start hooking things up to the back end, really start making a more robust end-to-end experience and see what we can do with this. Damn, okay, so bad news, chat. Bad news for the boys out here. So essentially, I last left off, as you know, I created a whole layout for what the like hook and demo video feature is like, right? So I was able to lay it all out. I can now click on a video, and then users can overlay some text on top of that video from the UI. But now I was trying to actually look into actually how to export that video with that UI overlaid on top of it. And I was like, yeah, this is not gonna be that bad. It's gonna be so chill. But it turns out the solution for how to do that is much more difficult than I had originally thought. The only thing I knew going into this whole video export, video coding realm was the library of FFmpeg. Essentially, this is like the GOAT OG library where any type of video splicing is done strictly via this FFmpeg library. Then I was just talking to Gemini to do some research. Gemini 3, this video is not sponsored by Gemini 3, but Gemini 3 is so fucking good, and so you just gotta keep plugging it. So I was using Gemini 3 to ask it like, hey, what are some libraries that I can use to implement this video export feature? A really simple video export feature of overlaying text on top of the video and then adding a little product demo video to that and stitching it all together. Really simple stuff, or so I thought. And then it suggested, oh, you can use this FFmpeg WASM, WASM, essentially FFmpeg, but rewritten in a way such that it runs completely in WebAssembly on your browser, no external server needed. And I was like, oh my God, beautiful. This is what I needed. There's gonna be no server dependencies, no costs associated with it, running completely in the browser. But then I ran into my first issue, which was it is not really well supported with TurboPack, which is the Next.js default, the custom compiler build tool, and I can't use it. That really pissed me off. Another reason why I kind of wish I wanted to get off of Next.js, and I wish I wrote my app in something else. I actually made a whole video right here where I talk about why I am getting really upset and annoyed with Next.js and wish I no longer wrote my app in it. But that is another topic that I go much more deeper into that video. So it's a little disappointing that the ffmpeg.wasm library was not eligible. So I was a little disappointed that I couldn't use the ffmpeg.wasm library in my Next.js application. So then I started doing some other research, and I came across this one library called Remotion. Essentially, you're able to do like video editing with React code. Whoa, crazy. But the thing is, it seems like it does need server-side support. And once again, Next.js is coming to bite me in the ass because it is running everything via like serverless functions on Next.js and Vercel. And there are some compute limits with Remotion being a bit of a heavier library and this whole serverless architecture. Unfortunately, it just doesn't work. And then the way that Remotion officially recommends people to use their video editing library with Node.js is AWS Lambda functions. And you may not know this, but I hate AWS. I try to avoid it like the plague. I know, roast me in the comments. It's a skill issue. I suck. I shit. AWS is not that bad. You just suck at it. Yes, I know. I'm total garbage, booty ass developer with regards to AWS, but that's just me. You know, I try to avoid it when I can, but after doing more and more research, I think it is my best and only choice. So, hey boy, it is time to raw dog that AWS Lambda function. Gotta roll up the sleeves, get down and dirty. It's only 6 p.m. tonight. I'm hoping I can get something up and running. I mean, knowing how garbage I am at AWS, it'll probably take me longer, but we will see. I'm so heartbroken. I wanted to avoid AWS so much, but here I am. It's unavoidable. All right. Well, time to blow my brains out and go crazy on my laptop, do some nasty things to it, and try to get this whole thing deployed onto AWS. Wish me luck. I'm scared. All right, boys, we are back Tuesday, November 25th. I think we last left off with me talking about Remotion as this video as code library that we were using, but I was hesitant to use it because I had to self-host it myself onto Lambda. And I try to avoid doing that as much as possible. I try my best to not deal with any infra, and I would rather pay for that solution to be handled instead. So I was looking around at some other potential libraries or services that we could use for code as video. But in the end, I just decided to just keep using Remotion and deploying it onto AWS Lambda functions. But this also isn't a perfect solution. There are also certain edge cases and nuances to know as well. And I'll show you the whole UI, the feature that we built out. It's been updated a little bit since I last showed you earlier in the video where we did like a little layout scaffolding of what the experience, the interface is going to look like. But some of the big downsides of using Remotion, some of the edge cases about using Remotion on Lambda, the big drawback of using Remotion on Lambda is the fact that it doesn't really scale infinitely. So the way that it works is that Remotion, essentially, when you go to export a certain video, Remotion then cuts up this video to process multiple chunks at once across multiple Lambda functions to improve the concurrency so that the video processes at a faster speed. Now, this is great, but the downside to this is the fact that AWS limits you in terms of how many concurrent functions you can have going on at once. When I first signed up to AWS, I was only allowed 10 concurrent functions at once. And that's really not enough because sometimes with a longer video, Remotion can then split up your video to be processed in 20 or 30 concurrent functions at once. So I just requested to increase my quota from 10 concurrent functions to 1,000 concurrent functions, which is a lot and should be able to handle most of the workflow. But the edge case still exists where, like, let's say I have 990 concurrent functions at once, and then a new user comes in to go and export a video, and then they're unable to, and the function fails because we don't have enough concurrent functions available to process a brand new video. So that is one edge case that is there that we're going to have to do some graceful error handling around. But overall, after just weighing out all the pros and cons, deploying it onto AWS was relatively easy. It seems to be a really well-supported community library. The Discord server is super active. I've asked for help there, and the founders have been super responsive there. So it just seems like because there's so much support and so much activity around using this Remotion library for video as code, I'm gonna stick with it. And luckily, it doesn't seem like it'll take up too much time or like mental bandwidth for me to handle the infra of it all, because it seems like the solution is, well, if you run into issues with scaling, request an increase in the number of concurrent Lambda functions you can run at a time. So overall, I would much rather have Remotion, for example, provide a cloud hosted solution I can pay them a premium for, but they don't have that on their roadmap right now. So then in terms of any type of self-hosted options directly on an AWS or a Google Cloud platform or something, this is probably the easiest version of that I can possibly ask for. So I've decided to just keep using Remotion as the primary video exporting library. And before we wrap up this week's vlog, because unfortunately I thought I would get this feature done by a week, not the case. It's actually a little bit more complicated, probably the most complex feature I built out so far. It's going to take another week or so to build it all out. But before we wrap up this video, I do want to show you a quick little demo of what the user experience is going to look like. So let me take you there real quick. All right, so this is what the feature is going to look like. So this shouldn't look too different from the original layout that I showed you in the very beginning that we created. It's actually still largely based on that, but I've kind of refined a little bit more of what the flow is going to look like. So first of all, we're going to have AI avatars here. This default avatars are going to be the ones that we create out of the box for you. This is all like placeholder videos on the internet that we just scraped from TikTok. These are not real like AI UGC default avatars that we've created. This is just dummy data, but essentially you can pick whatever avatar you want to start with. And then we're also going to add support for you to create your own AI UGC person. That is also a big feature we're going to be working on there. Whatever video you want to have as your hook in the beginning of the video. Then from here, you can overlay some type of text like, wow, crazy hook. Then you can modify the size, you can modify the text color, you can modify the background color, change its positioning from top, center, and bottom. And then at the very end, you add a product demo at the end. So in this case, this is once again just like another silly TikTok video I scraped and uploaded as a product demo dummy data. So when you click on this video though, you can see this is gonna give you a little video preview on the right-hand side of what this whole video is gonna look like. And you can see there's some UX right there to show you when that transition from the hook to the demo comes around. So if you go and scrub through this and you play it, it, you can see right here, we're switching over. This is when the product demo would begin and when the hook would end. So that's kind of an overview. Then you can click this generate video button up here to export the finalized video. And that's kind of how the user flow is gonna be. We're not quite there yet. We're still very much like work in progress right now. We've got the generate video endpoint working on its own. We've got this whole UI layout flow working on its own. Now we're just primarily working on gluing everything to get it. So what I'm currently working on now is to just connect everything together now, because we got this client side working, we got the generate video backend working on AWS Lambda with Remotion. Now I'm just working on making sure that whatever the video preview is looking like on the right hand side there, when we export the video, it is as close to pixel perfect matching as whatever this preview looks like right here. So that's what we're working on next, as well as some Avid AI UGC creations to do like such that you can actually create your own hook clips with different AI avatar personas, AI avatar users, all within here. So that's coming up for next week's vlog. So we'll see how that goes. But thanks again for watching. That's all I got for you this week, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.